Banned candy. Demonic candy bars cause the adults in Sunnydale to act like teenagers.
We open with Giles helping Buffy study for the SAT, and at first, I thought he was reading poetry or something to whoever was in that grave.
There were multiple times in this episode where they had that same kind of misdirect, and I really enjoyed them.
And then they're attacked by a vampire,
which Buffy kills with a pencil.
Good thing it was a number 2.
We cut to Mayor Elbrun talking to Mr. Trick about hiring somebody to help deliver a tribute to a demon that got him his position.
And the mayor opens a cabinet filled with demonic artifacts, not hidden behind a false door or even some jackets. It's right there, and there's no lock on the cabinet. I hope nobody ever opened that cabinet for any reason at any time.
I appreciated how upfront he was about everything. You don't usually see that in politicians. At school, Snyder tells the gang that they have to sell candy to raise money for the marching band. Buffy takes 40 bars home to Joyce, who reluctantly agrees to buy 20 of them to hand out at her gallery.
And Buffy's also trying to convince Joyce to let her start driving.
Although they make it clear that she doesn't have her license.
Or any knowledge of how to do it.
Or any common sense.
So give her the keys.
Her mom objects because she's afraid Buffy will try to run away again. And she jokes about how she won't, even though she already almost did it again.
And Buffy says she'll just take a bus if she wants to do that. It looks like common sense runs in the family.
She goes to train with Giles, who blindfolds her to see if she can tell where an opponent is in total darkness. Which I thought was going to pop up again later in the episode, like in Bloodsport.
I also like how Giles walked really loudly. After the exercise, Buffy says she can't patrol because Joyce wants her home. But she doesn't go home. She goes to visit Angel, who is doing shirtless Tai Chi. And I don't know Tai Chi, so I can't say if he was doing it well or not. But I'm going to assume probably not. And now Angel can talk, and hopefully defecate in some sort of receptacle instead of right on the floor like he was in that other episode.
She brings him some more blood soup, and he asks about Scott.
And Buffy reacts the same way I did when she doesn't remember who the hell Scott is.
Scott? Boyfriend Scott.
And for some reason, she doesn't tell him that they broke up. Again, trying to push drama in ways that doesn't make sense.
And Angel says he's getting better, and that's good, I guess. Whatever, I don't really care.
When Buffy gets home, she finds Joyce and Giles waiting to find out where she's really been going.
And after being caught up in her lie, she tells another lie and says she was at the Bronze. And after this very childish display, Buffy says she's tired of them treating her like a child.
She says they need to stop trying to watch over her all the time.
Despite Giles' job title literally being Watcher.
And despite the fact that she already died once, she ran away 1.5 times, and she's been lying about everything this whole time.
What a great role model.
And at this point, I would have thought Giles at least would realize something else was going on with her, but he doesn't even try to ask. Instead, they just eat candy.
We cut to the factory where they're making the candy bars, and we see Ethan from the episodes Halloween and The Dark Age. And he tells a worker not to eat the chocolate. And nobody questions that weird and ominous statement. And the fact that the guy was about to eat it shows that maybe none of the workers know they're working on a nefarious plan.
And that it must be hard to hire good workers in Sunnydale if they're trying to eat the product that they're supposed to be working on. In study hall, Cordelia says she heard about a secret rule that if the teacher is 10 minutes late, they can all leave. I remember hearing that in high school too. Xander is eating one of the chocolate bars and playing footsie with Willow under the table.
They're waiting for Giles, who hasn't shown up, and Snyder directs another teacher to fill his spot. And she walks in and shows why she got the Educator of the Year award for 3 years straight.
So now let's just sit quietly and pretend we're reading something until we're really sure that old Commandant Snyder's gone.
Buffy's immature behavior must be rubbing off on everyone.
She goes to Giles' house to see why he didn't show, and finds him with Joyce.
And they are discussing their co-parenting of Buffy.
And working on a new schedule.
Joyce tells Buffy to drive home, which Buffy excitedly jumps at.
And Giles pulls out a smoke, and Joyce pulls out the booze. So these characters are a lot cooler than I thought.
Buffy drives like a crazy person with Willow in the passenger seat. She says she has to study for the SAT, so of course they decide to go to the Bronze. This is a perfect example of the disjointedness of the show. Buffy acting immature, played for laughs, I think is funny, but when we're supposed to sympathize with her when she's dealing with problems that were caused by her immaturity, it's hard to take seriously and it's hard to care.
Meanwhile, Giles and Joyce are continuing to be awesome in pretty much every way, and they decide to go out.
Buffy and Willow get to the Bronze, and it's filled with adults who are acting like dumb teenagers, including Principal Snyder.
which was pretty funny. We cut back to the factory where Mr. Trick is talking to Ethan about people dying, and he actually kills a worker. But again, I could not tell if these workers were in on the scheme or not, but they don't seem particularly fazed by a dude being murdered right in front of them.
Must pay pretty well.
They probably get a free iPhone if they stay on for 6 months.
Buffy takes Willow, Oz, and Principal Snyder to go talk to Giles.
And they realize with Giles' past, he could be out of control.
I like how when they're driving, we get some impending doom music over shots of people acting goofy.
And while they're driving, they get T-boned by another idiot driver.
And Buffy realizes the candy is causing everyone to act like kids.
Finally.
But since no vampires are attacking, there must be something else going on.
We cut to Giles shattering a store display to get Joyce a coat, then subsequently beating up the cop who tries to stop him and grabbing Joyce and sucking face.
And given how old and frail that cop looked, I'm assuming he's dead, but we never find out. Buffy sends Willow and Oz to get Xander and Cordelia to the library to do research, and she questions Snyder about the source of the candy.
When she gets to the factory, Buffy sees her mom making out with Giles.
And she tries to get Joyce to go home, but she doesn't like being told what to do.
And they eventually all get into the factory, where she finds Ethan, who starts to run like a little bitch.
While this is going on, the others are going through random books in the library to find something useful, and we get a bit more of the Xander-Willow subplot. But it's not interesting, so there's nothing to say about it.
Ethan is running through a huge maze of chocolate bar boxes, more than I think would be necessary.
And he somehow outruns the Slayer, but she finds him hiding in a box.
She's probably really bad at the mazes on children's menus in restaurants.
Meanwhile, Snyder tries to hit on Buffy's mom, but it doesn't work.
Ethan says he's been working for Mr. Trick and is collecting a tribute for a demon, Larconis, and the tribute is so big they had to get everyone out of the way.
And I like Giles' reactions to Buffy's interrogation.
What demon?
I don't remember.
It turns out a bunch of vampires are stealing babies from a hospital.
Because the tribute is babies. Larconis eats babies.
Buffy phones Willow, while Snyder continues to try to impress Joyce. And when Ethan tries to attack Buffy, Giles pulls a gun on him. I'm surprised he didn't... Well, he probably did shoot a bunch of other people. I'm just going to assume that he did.
Giles is awesome. And he manages to access some of his adult knowledge and lets Buffy know that Larconis is in the sewers.
And they leave Ethan handcuffed with cuffs that Joyce had on her. There's some good stuff with Giles and Snyder arguing like idiots, and Buffy eventually sends Snyder home.
We cut to the sewers, where all the babies are, but we only hear one crying, and that was very unrealistic. They would all be crying. And Larconis has not shown up yet.
Buffy interrupts, and the mayor escapes.
Buffy starts beating up the vampires before Larconis shows up.
In all his 90s TV CGI glory.
Holy crap, that was so bad.
Trick challenges Buffy to a fight, and I wanted to see how it would go. But Giles steps in and almost gets himself eaten by Larconis, at which point Trick just runs away for some reason.
And Buffy easily and quickly manages to defeat Larconis without having to actually fight it. Very climactic.
Yeah, I was hoping we'd get a big CGI battle between the two of them. That would have been awesome. They take the babies back, presumably. We don't see it happen and they don't talk about it. And we see Mayor Elbrun telling Trick to be more careful in the future.
Neither of them seemed particularly upset about the whole plan failing.
Which was surprising. I kind of would have expected Mayor Elbrun to kill Trick, but it did make him a more relatable character.
Yeah, because you refrain from murdering people on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I guess when you say it like that, it makes him sound less relatable.
Or it makes you sound like a complete psychopath.
Moving on. The next day, Snyder shows that he is back to normal.
He recruits the gang to clean up all the graffiti that the adults left.
And Buffy talks to Giles about how the experience made her feel helpless and alone. But it turns out she's talking about taking the SAT, which it sounds like she didn't do well on. Joyce comes to pick up Buffy, and it's implied that things went further between Joyce and Giles than Buffy realizes. Band candy. Overall?
Okay, first off, Ethan's plan was ridiculously complicated. You would have to set up all the infrastructure for the factory, for the workers, the production, the packaging, setting up the fundraiser through the school system. That's a lot. While humorous, the scheme was completely nonsensical. If you have access to those kinds of resources, do something intelligent. The music choices for this episode were way too much. With all that goofy percussion, I felt like I was playing Banjo-Kazooie. They could have easily made some sort of practical snake thing to just pop out of that little door. They did it for Reptilicus or whatever in that one episode. And this would have been even easier because it just had to kind of pop out. And that thing looks so bad. Willow and Xander's romantic stuff is still going on, and still for no apparent reason, and the chocolate apparently had nothing to do with it. At least that would have been an excuse. I can only surmise it's going to continue and cause drama when there's no reason for that to happen. Why did they need so much chocolate? They had enough to get the whole town cursed. It was already done. The plan would have gone off without a hitch had Buffy not gotten there. So why did they still have 10,000 boxes still in that factory? They even made a huge maze out of it. Ethan's overhead and operating costs had to be out of control. What an idiot. There are no better subcontractors than Ethan. Come on. Snyder's goofiness was probably the best part of this episode for me. All of the adults acting like teens was goofy. It was a little much at times, but I thought Giles and Joyce did a really nice job. Overall, the episode was memorable, but not great. It was cool to see Ethan come back and still be a little bitch. I thought it was a humorous episode, but not one of my favorites. I gave it a C+.
Alright, I gave it a B-. This was basically the Naked Now episode of Buffy.
We have other videos from other TV shows you can watch.
The humor was more consistent and pervasive than usual, and a step up from most of the lame jokes and not quite witty dialogue we usually get. The themes worked a lot better than usual too, with Buffy's immaturity being juxtaposed with the behavior of her parental figures. In this episode, I thought that worked, but taken in the context of the series up to this point, Buffy's immaturity feels really stupid, especially given all the stuff she's dealt with already, plus her role as the Slayer. And speaking of Slayers, where was Faith?
Oh yeah.
I'm not complaining that she wasn't there, given that I don't like her, but it seems weird to me to introduce a new Slayer, have her stick around, but not actually do much for 3 episodes in a row, with less in every episode to the point that she's not even in this one.
And I would think that her character would have teamed up with the adults and thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I was thinking there could have been a cool dynamic between her and immature Giles or something. The aspects of this episode that I didn't like were the dumb angel stuff, which unfortunately I don't think is going to improve anytime soon. Thankfully it wasn't in it very much. And the Willow Xander stuff, which I hope comes to some kind of a head soon, just to get it out of the way, because I really don't like that subplot. It seems like they feel like they just need something for the side characters to do, but instead of developing them more as characters, they just have dumb things happen like this. And what happened to Ethan at the end? They handcuffed him, supposedly, but then Giles and Buffy never mentioned him again, and Trick said that he still paid him in the end, so did he escape?
Maybe Trick just went back and let him loose.
They should have said something. I did like that the episode dealt with the mayor without him throwing a random threat at Buffy. This season so far has been a big break from season 2 in terms of not every episode feeling the same, and I hope that continues.